Dr. Mohan Margharaja is an associate professor in the Department of Pharmacognosy at Parul University, Gujarat. He obtained his PhD in Herbal Drug Technology from Maharaja Sayajirao University, Gujarat. He has a strong background in pharmaceutics and has supervised many students in both academic and research careers. His research interests are herbal drug technology and phytochemistry. He has published several research and review articles, and he is also a reviewer of various reputed journals. We are delighted to listen your encouraging words, sir. Here comes Dr. M.K. Mohan Margharaja. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Soundarya, for those praising words. Okay, so shall we start? Shall I start my presentation?
Yes, sir, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, definitely
Okay.
start the program, sir. Suddenly, my mic have some problem.
No problem, Dr. Purushottam, no problem.
You can start the program. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Ms. Soundarya, can you confirm, like, if you are able to view the slides?
Definitely,
Yes,
sir.
sir, it's
Yeah, it's very
clearly
clear.
visible.
Okay, fine. So good afternoon to all the participants. I hope everybody is safe and healthy. So welcome to this session of mine on day number 4 of BioYojana. The title is Therapeutic Potential of Herbal Drugs and Exploratory Journey. Now this talk I planned in two things. One is like we will be exploring like the therapeutic potential of herbal drugs, and most probably we will be concentrating on how to explore the therapeutic potential of the herbal drugs. So the therapeutic potential of herbal drugs, we can explain with the help of the statement. Herbal drugs can provide remedies for all human ailments. All substances produced by plants can be recognized by our body, as we all evolved from the same mother cell. So this is not only applicable to all the herbal drugs, we can talk about any natural sources where any source from animal products or mineral sources can be used as a medicinal substances. Now, this is the very basic why we are so much believing on the therapeutic potential of herbal drugs. It's because we share a common ancestry. So the biological system, even though taxonomically we are animal and plant kingdom, the secondary metabolites or the metabolite that is part of the plant biosynthesis can be physiologically active, and which we are already aware from the history of a lot of natural based drug discovery process that includes starting from morphine to till quinine, and which was the hydroxychloroquine, which was now the first drug of choice during the early stages of pandemic. There always been some very potential and potent drugs from plant materials. Now this is one of our earlier works from our lab, where we were able to identify adrenaline from a plant leaf. Now, adrenaline, I think you are aware, it is a catecholamine class, and they are basically neurotransmitters. Now, neurotransmitter is present in a plant kingdom, where there is no existence of any neuronal system or nervous system. So this gives you an idea like how much the important of the secondary metabolites present in any plant species can influence the physiological action of an animal body, means like human body or any animal in that matter. So we'll not go that much into why the herbal drugs are so much potential, because already aware, and then post-COVID era has emphasized so much about the natural resources and the use of herbal materials as anti-COVID or preventive prophylaxis kind of treatment. Okay. Now, so we've been using this term herbal drugs, and as per WHO, the World Health Organization, they have clear-cut defined certain terminologies which we normally get it confused. So we'll see certain terminologies before we go into the further slides, because I'll be using this terminology so frequent. Now, medicinal plants that we should be already aware, but still I will read it for you. Usage of plants either wild or collected from the forest or cultivated, which is used for a medicinal purpose. Now, the moment we say herbal drugs, so we are talking about any substances, material or processed material from plants which are having medicinal use. So we are basically not interested in any plant which is not medicinal, or if it is an ornamental plant. Now, the terminology herbal medicine or herbal drugs consist of different other terminologies like herbs, herbal materials, herbal preparation, or finished herbal products. Now, each of this word, it means either different in the material wise or in the preparation or in the proportion of them. So let's see that also what every term indicates as per WHO guidelines. So what is a herb? Herb is basically a crude plant material which may be entire, fragmented, or powdered. So it means like if you are in a garden, if you have a medicinal plant, if you are taking apart maybe a leaf, that's also called as herb. Or if you are taking any fragment of it, or if you have a powder of the leaf or root or seeds, that will also be defined as herbs. Now, herbal materials, or it's also called as medicinal plant materials. In addition to these herbs, what do they include? They include the other crude plant materials like the gums, resins, balsams, or any exudaces from the plant material. Then there's another terminology that's herbal preparations. Now, herbal preparations are produced from herbal materials. So basically, it can be again herbs or any other plant related exudaces like gums, resins. But what is the difference? Then it has to be prepared by either a physical or a biological process. Now, what is physical process here? It indicates any type of extraction. It can be just a simple boiling with water, or maybe ethanol or any alcohol, or making a decoction of it, or an infusion. So that includes as a physical process. Now, biological process indicates process like fermentation, because in Indian system of medicine, we have several herbal preparations where the plant materials are added with sugar and allowed to ferment for a few days. So which is now defined as a biological process. So when any of these two processes are performed on a herbal material, then it is now become herbal preparation. Then what is finished herbal products, which is also called as mixture herbal products, is if there is one or more herbal preparations present, then it will be defined as a finished herbal products. So the herbal preparation can be even from the same plant, but do two different preparations. That is also defined as finished herbal products. Or if it is from two different plants, of course, we know it is two different mixtures. So it also can be defined as finished herbal products. Yeah. Now, before we go into why and how the herbal drugs are potential, let me clear some other confusion words. The Indian system of medicine has several systems like Siddha, Ayurveda, Unani, and homeopathic drugs. If you see, all the system of medicines has different sources. It can be either a plant source, or it can be an animal source, or it can be from minerals. But can we call a Siddha drug as a herbal drug? No, we cannot technically call them as a herbal drug. All we can say is the particular Siddha drug is from herbal source. So what makes the line between a herbal drug and all this Indian system of medicine drugs is, Siddha drugs have been already predefined in any Siddha classical literatures, or similarly to an Ayurvedic classical literature or an Unani. But herbal drugs has its own combination, or it can be a new combination of different ingredients, a new defined process. So to be very clearly, we can talk about the new Siddha drug which has been recommended by Ayush for anti-COVID, which is Kabasura Kudinir, which is basically Kabasura Kudinir Churnam. It contains around 15 medicinal plants, and the preparation is already defined in Siddha literatures. Now, this Kabasura Kudinir cannot be defined or tagged as a herbal drug. It will be always called as Siddha drugs. But if you take the composition of the Kabasura Kudinir, if you change the ingredients, if you find and optimize a different procedure or a new preparation process, then it will no more be called as a Kabasura Kudinir. It can be now defined as a herbal drug. And similarly, it's applicable to all Ayurveda drugs. So herbal drugs is a more scientific way approach of seeing the traditionally claimed or any traditionally used drugs. Okay. Now we'll go to the how to explore the therapeutic potential of herbal drugs. So this are the phases that normally you can perform of exploring any therapeutic potential of any herbal material or herbs. As we defined, it can be a herbal finished product. So the phases can be like selection, means like we are trying to select what is the plant material or the preparations. Then identification of the plant material, or if it is a preparation, the identification about the plant sources of the ingredients. The third will be coming about how to collect all these materials and processing. The fourth can be the estimation of quality control parameters for the identified ingredients. The fifth can be the phytochemical studies, which involves extraction, fractionation, isolation, and characterization. And the last but not the least, the biological studies, which can be performed in an animal study or directly can perform a clinical studies. So I will emphasize again, any plant material which is studied, which is not of medicinal use, will not be of the category of herbal drugs. So we'll see all this, every phases in detail in the forthcoming slides. Now, so before we go further into every phases of the exploring herbal drugs, I want the participants to understand about 2 points, which is about the how we perceive the plants, right? So here I've posted 3 images of course, you should be knowing all this: a lion, a tiger, and a leopard. Now we know they are all different. Right? Now taxonomically, we know we have been given a kingdom. There is a hierarchy which talks about then the phylum, the order, the family, the genus, and the species. Now, if you see all 3, we know they have shared some common things like wild animals and they are cat family, but all 3 are among different species. But before, when we are saying different species, we basically understand, our viewpoint is very clear when it comes to animal kingdom, that all the 3 are so different, right? Even though all 3 belongs scientifically to a single genus called Panthera. Now, is it the same point of view when we talk about plants? So here again, I posted 2 images about 2 species of the plant kingdom which belongs to the same genus. The one on the top is Ocimum basilicum, and the image on the down is the Ocimum tenuiflorium, which is, we know, it is a holy basil. Now, do we have the same perception when we talk about 2 different species? When we talk about or when we discuss about plants. So plants, normally what we see is like, okay, they are plants, or it's called as herbs, shrubs, or maybe maximum trees. So based on the morphological appearance, we have just given them a common general word. But 2 trees may be of that same genus, but still they are 2 different species. Right? Or 2 trees or 2 plants that you see adjacent in your garden or whenever you're on the road can be of totally 2 different family. So it means that is a huge difference. Like in the animal kingdom, it is very clear. I cannot compare a rat or a mouse to a lion. So our viewpoint in the animal kingdom is very clear, but somehow our viewpoint is a little bit hazy when it comes to seeing the plant species as unique as it is. So this is one point I want to make the participants very clear, that any plant species that you select are very unique in themselves. An alternate or even the species within the same genus is still so diversified. The second point of view which I want the participant to understand is every plant material that is under study or which you are interested in to study is a living organic life form. And as I told you, it is very specific and unique. So they have their own physiology and metabolism. So if you talk about metabolism, the plant has primary and secondary metabolism. The primary metabolism normally is the metabolites like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and nucleic acids. But What we are interested in the herbal research is about the secondary metabolites, which are into different categories like terpenes, phenols, alkaloids, flavonoids, resins, glycosides, tannins. There's a wide range of secondary metabolites, which basically a herbal researcher is so much interested in, because we have known that a lot of the secondary metabolite class and a lot of secondary metabolite have been found as drugs which are still in use, and which has been now, some drugs has been now replaced with the semi-synthetic derivatives or the synthetic form of them. So if you are into exploring herbal research, two viewpoints is very important. One is, see always a species as a unique species and understand that this species has its own physiology and metabolism. Why it is so important, I'll just connect it to the forthcoming slides. Fine. Now coming to the phases that we discussed in the 2-3 slides before, like the different phases of selecting or exploring the therapeutics of a herbal drug. Now this was the most difficult phase of any researcher starting its research work, is like how to select and what to select. How do we select a plant material? Which plant to select? Because we have a lot of plant species, which has been medicinally also or used and traditionally claimed in different literatures. So you can take around 3 approaches. First approach is be disease-based. The second can be based on the chemical constituents. The third being a specific plant-based. Now, what is disease-based? Any herbal researcher who's wanting to explore the herbal drugs for its potential therapeutics can have to decide like what is that disease condition or what is that ailment that he is or she is interested into. So if that is at least selected, then based on that you can do a literature survey and find out what type of medicinal plants or what type of plant materials are traditionally claimed, or you have scientific reports into a particular disease. Say for example, if you're interested in diabetes studies, or if you're interested in a cancer study, or if you're interested in rheumatoid arthritis. So once you predefine or select the disease that we want to explore, then based on that, the selection of the plant will much become easier comparatively. So you can do a survey list of plant materials that is either traditionally used in odd sort of disease, or you can do a literature survey based on preliminary reports or any experimental work that has been carried out. So you can do a short list of plant materials and then you can select one material or one plant material for your further research work. Now the second one is based on chemical constituents. So we are not interested in the disease now, all you're interested in certain molecules or the class of metabolites like alkaloids or a flavonoid, maybe a particular glycoside or a resin. So we are already defining into the molecular structure or the class of the secondary metabolites. So which will be compared to the existing drugs available in the market. You can compare the structure. We can do some literatures based on the structure activity relationship. So based on like when you're confined but you are interested in a particular secondary metabolite, then you can do a literature survey for identifying what are the plant materials or what are the species or genus which contain this group of chemical constituents. Right? So you can collect and then you can have a short list of the plant materials containing the particular chosen chemical constituents of your interest. And then you can choose one material for your further research plan. Now the third thing is plant-based. The researcher can either not be so interested in based on the disease selection or on the chemical constituent. All he or she can be interested in particularly exploring a particular plant species. That can also be done. In that case, what will happen? You have to finally the plant is being selected. Then you can do a literature survey based on like what are the diseases that is being reported for, or what are the biological activities reported in that specific plant. And then you can do another literature based on the chemical constituents that is being reported or isolated. Right? From these two literatures, then you can choose what you want to explore within this selector or the choice of the plant that is of your choice. Right? Okay. So these are three basic approaches that you can normally select. One is either you decide with what kind of disease that you are interested with. Based on that, plant selection will be much easier. Then, or the second approach can be designing on a particular class of secondary metabolites or a chemical constituents. Keeping that as the base, you can do a literature survey and fine tune to select a particular plant or a plant material. The third one is you can just blindly select a plant just because you want interested in to do some research. Then from that plant, then you can find out what are the biological activities reported till now, or is it being used in any traditional systems. And then you can do another phytochemical report to find out what are the chemical constituents that is being reported. Right? Now, once this is related to, you're trying to optimize and select a particular plant material. Now, when you do the literature survey, there are two literatures that will normally you will be coming across. One is the literatures about the traditional claims. Another one will be the scientific literatures that will be talking about the experimental studies. Now, in the traditional claims, the plant materials, as we have our own Indian system of medicine like Siddha, Ayurveda, Unani, and then every country, every culture, they have their own organized system of medicines, like Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine or a Tibetan medicine. Now, they are organized system of medicines because whenever they talk about medicinal use of a particular plant material, they will also come up with their own mechanism, which is based on the philosophy of the system of medicine. Like Siddha or Ayurveda, in parallel, they want to talk about whether it is the plant material could increase the Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which is their own philosophy of system of medicine. So, taking any traditional claims from the organized system of medicines will have some explanation which may not be very scientific, but will be rooted to their own philosophy of system of medicines. Now, another kind of traditional claims can be folklore. Now, what is folklore? Now, folklore is a completely unorganized system of medicine. It can be practiced by a group of people in a community or a particular place, which does not have an organized system. Either the knowledge can be transferred orally from generation to generation, just because somebody has explored a medicinal plant and it has worked clinically. So the knowledge has been transferred from generation. Sometimes you will also find it as a documented evidence, but it does not have any organized system explaining why the plant material is working. And similarly, we can have one more traditional claims based on the home remedies, where you can find a particular community of the people or somebody at home would have optimized some remedies based on some herbal preparations. And then that has been followed generation after generation. Now, taking any traditional claims based on either organized system or the folklore or the home remedies, the researchers should be very much clear about on what basis do they make the claim. Because all traditional system medicines are thousands of years old. They are not going to talk about the modern terminologies. They are not going to talk about antiviral or antibacterial. So what they may have is like disease like diabetes, which has been documented thousands of years back. So you can find a very good literatures on a direct medicinal plant, which they are calling as anti-diabetic in nature. But the other things, you can have an educated guess, which is very close to what is now the scientific term of the disease, has to be chosen. And based on this traditional claim, the researcher should be very careful in selecting exactly the material in the way the system of medicine has advocated. You cannot change the method of preparation. You can have to do the same method of preparation, and from then on you can explore it scientifically using modern science and technology to come out with a potent drug. Now, coming to the scientific literatures, we will also find two kind of experimental works. One is based on the chemical constituents. So you will find about the chemical constituents that has been isolated, characterized, or whatever the previous chemical constant present. And the other one is going to be the experimental work, which is talking about the biological activities that is being carried out in that particular plant material which you have selected. So these days you'll find most of the plant materials have been initially it's been screened for in silico, where you have some target molecules isolated or already reported chemical constituents have been studied, or in vitro studies also available where the herbal materials or the isolated plant materials is tested against a particular enzyme or a protein to find out whether they stimulate the protein or inhibit the particular protein. Then you have animal studies reports on different plant materials and preparations. It can be ex vivo, it is isolated organ studies, or the in vivo studies where the experimental studies on the whole animal. And the last studies can be clinical studies, which is performed on the human beings. Now, so till now we have gone through the traditional literatures based on your approach of what based on disease or chemical constituents, or you have just chosen the plant just because you wanted to explore. We have gone through the literatures and we have fine-tuned and picked up a particular plant material. Now, once you pick up the plant material, it is must, or you can say it's mandatory to confirm what it is its taxonomical hierarchy today, because taxonomy, which was like classified like in the 1700s by Carl Linnaeus, were most of the time based on morphological characterization. So what he found is like plants and leaf shapes and trees which is having similar morphology was put into a single genus, or they are like much bigger pulled into a family. Now, this taxonomical organization, which is the International Code of Nomenclature for Algae, Fungi and Plants. Now, the job of this particular taxonomic organization is to keep on studying the genetic and to create a phylogenetic mapping of different plant materials that includes algae and fungi. So what does they basically do? They keep on doing phylogenetic studies and find out or replace certain plant materials or species from genus to genus or from family to family. Till before 2001, the same organization was also called as International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. Now, why I'm emphasizing this here is once you select the plant, you are supposed to find its taxonomical hierarchy or its status as on now. Because if you have gone to the literatures, they would have quoted that particular species in a different genus and a different family. Maybe the international code has found some experimental evidence that this plant does not belong to this particular genus, but it has close relation with another genus. Immediately the plant will be shifted to another genus. Right? So for example, so I've taken a plant which is Chlorhodendron Phlomides. So on the right side, if you can see the pointer on the screen, this is what we call as a taxonomical hierarchy. It starts with the kingdom, then the clades, order, family, genus, and we have species. So this plant, in the literature, I found as the same name. And now if we find what is the hierarchy, so it belongs to again the same genus. The family is Lamiaceae and the botanical name is Chlorhodendron Phlomides. Now if you concentrate down where there is an yellow mark in the screen, there is something called synonym. Now the synonym can be either another name of the same plant, or it has been named for the same plant by another author in different part of the world when that much sharing was not available, and then later when they studied both the different species, they found it is the same species but names are different. They would have pooled it to one particular botanical name. Now what is the problem here? If you are doing a literature survey for Chlorhodendron Phlomides, you will find some literatures for phytochemical reports or biological studies. Now, a lot of studies may be also available in its synonym name, which is Chlorhodendron multiflorum, or some studies will be available in the botanical name of Walkemeria multiflora. So if you are not covering the literature reviews of the synonyms, you are going to miss a lot of literatures for biology and phytochemistry. So that will make a very inappropriate literature survey, and with inappropriate literature survey, your research design cannot be excellent. There will be lacunae in your research kinds, or you may be thinking certain particular biological activity is not being carried out, but it might have been carried out in the same plant, just the publication or which you are doing in the literature may be in the synonym name. So as a researcher, it is our responsibility to cross verify if the plant is having any synonym name. Let us do a literature survey on the synonym name also.